Welcome everyone to the Hobby Desk. Today my small video is going to be about Insta Mold. So there's several different companies out there that can make an Insta Mold. I've seen one called Blue Stuff before. Fun enough is blue. As you can tell, this isn't blue. This isn't blue stuff. It's just regular old Insta Mold. But this stuff is pretty damn good. I say pretty good. It's not exceptionally good. You can't get all the detail you want probably from this stuff. If you are casting a Space Marine arm, something like that, relatively low detail, that's not a problem. But something a bit more like that has wood grain or something in it. For example, I have a little miniature here. The wood grain there probably wouldn't pick up all that well, but it would pick up some of it, possibly. So this stuff is reusable, but unlike an actual mold where you can pour resin in, it doesn't get all the detail. But it is great if you've broken a piece or if you lost a piece. It's fantastic for that. I mean, you're not going to, make loads up and then sell them on eBay, something like that. People are going to know that this is a recast. But if it's painted up from a distance, it's fairly close. I mean, I'm not saying completely spam a whole army. I mean, I've got Tyranid Hive Guard. I'm not going to mold them and make 3 units of 6 or something on the table. I'm not going to do that. But if I'm missing a piece, I may copy it. So I have used in the past this stuff, as you can probably tell, to make a Storm Shield for a Space Marine. And it picked up the detail fairly well. I mean, there is an Imperial Aquila there, and it didn't quite pick up as much detail as I would like. But it is lovely stuff. It's nice and rubbery, and you can reuse it over and over and over again. Now, it comes in sticks. It doesn't come like this kind of shape initially. And what we're going to do is put it in boiling hot water in a minute. And we're going to start to make it malleable. And I'm going to use it for this shield. So a little bit of detail there, as you can see. It's fairly smooth in the background, but you do have the detail of the Chaos 8-pointed star. And I'm going to use 2 sides of this mold to make a double mold, so I can get front and back. But if you wanted to just push it in a mold and not worry about the back, that's totally fine as well, not a problem. But what we're going to do is have 2 roughly equal halves, push the piece in. I'm going to, if you notice there, I have 2 dimples. I'm going to make a few dimples around it. So I'm going to push the top piece on to really squeeze it in. It lines up nicely. So when I use my green stuff to squeeze in, mill putt, things like that, are just as good. Push it in there to get as much detail as possible. Really pack it in there and put that on the top. It should line up with the holes every time to get the exact same piece, because you don't want, let's say, this Storm Shield being 90 degrees out on the back. It would just look horrendous. So that's what I want to use it for. I want to make about 8 of these shields, mainly because my Chaos Marauders don't have shields, and I really want them with shields. I can't find any spare shields. So for my own personal use, I'm not going to sell it on eBay or anything like that. I thought it'd be a good idea. So here's something I have cast before, a bit of a Blue Peter moment. I had half of a rhino. Well, basically I had that part of a rhino, and I didn't have the rest. So I've put a metal plate on the top to stick my hatches on. That's fine. But on the other side, I wanted the detail of the inside of the rhino. So I had a spare rhino anyway, and I haven't assembled it yet. But rather than having a rhino and a half, because I wanted a piece of terrain, I thought I would use this. So all that there is green stuff, and it looks, you can see in there, possibly not, like a regular old inside of a rhino. So something like that is useful. This is only a piece of terrain. I'm not going to use it in massive GW tournaments or anything like that, Games Workshop tournaments, or even going up to Warhammer World with this. So own personal use, I thought, why not give it a go? And I was quite pleased with it. Didn't have masses of detail. It's quite a chunky piece, and it worked quite well. And as you can see, I've used it for a storm shield. So this time around, I'm going to use it for this tiny little shield, which has a little bit more detail. So I will boil some water and let's see what I can do. So I have a bowl of boiling water. I'm just going to pop my 2 moulds in there, just for a couple of minutes to soften up. So if you boil kettle, you'll probably find it's quite hot, but not quite hot enough for instant mould. So it will soften it, but it won't really be pliable enough to get it nice and smooth. Because you want it fairly smooth, get as many fingerprints out as you can, so just gently rub it. Because you want to get all the air pockets out and things like that to get the maximum amount of detail. So, get a paintbrush so I can fish it out and not burn myself and put my hand in ultra boiling water. And obviously make sure you have an adult to help you do this. So fish it out, and burn myself on camera would be amazing. Squidge, 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 squidge. Right, so use your finger to make it smooth as possible. Just like so. And push this little bad boy in. So push it in fairly firmly, as you're going to want to really work it in there. You can see from the other side if there's any air pockets. Really get all that detail. I can still see there's an air pocket. That's pretty good. And then get your paintbrush or something similar. Stab a hole there. Hole there. A few random places. So when you put the top half in, same trick again. Get it nice and smooth. Put it over the top. Really push it in there. And get it in those little locating holes, which you've put your slippery in it. Locating holes, which you've put your paintbrush in. Really make sure you've got all that detail. Just like so. Doesn't matter about my fingerprints this time around, because that is on the outside. Right, hopefully, with a bit of luck, when this is cold, I'll peel it apart. See how good it is. If there's any air pockets, you'll know about it when you use the green stuff. Right, we'll come back when that's suitably cool. So with a little bit of luck, hopefully, you can pull this apart. Now what I would recommend is wait a few minutes between doing the top and bottom, whatever order you do it in, because you don't want this to actually stick and adhere to the other one. So hopefully you can pull it out with relative ease, like so. And you can see that the bits are sticking up here, where they should be located. And hopefully it's offset, or you've done so many that you can only get it in one place. Right, next thing is mix up some of your green stuff, or whatever product you're using, so Millpup, etc. So I won't do a video on how to mix up green stuff, so you should know already. But generally equal parts, yellow and blue. Just start playing with it and manipulating it until it is one solid colour and nice and pliable. So the more you work with it, the softer it should get. So it's getting a bit more malleable now. So I'll get a nice blob of that. I'll start working it, and then I'll press it into the mould. Zoom in a little bit there. Right, so then you've got your little ball of green stuff there, and you're just going to gently push it in, hopefully getting all the little nooks and crannies. So as usual, green stuff, apply a little bit of moisture, just really push that in there. I mean, it's not going to be quite as good as if you're pouring resin in, obviously, because a liquid will always find its own natural equilibrium, the lowest point, and level out. Whereas this, you really have to work it in there. And hopefully, with a little bit of luck, you've pushed it in there enough. And when you pop it out, it will look like the real deal. Squeeze it in there. Try to get rid of all those little air pockets. Now it's a good job it's see-through, because then you can see the fact that there is an air pocket just there on the lower side. So I'm going to try to remove that by manipulating it a little bit. Oh, sure, won't get a very good shield there, would you? So keep pushing it to get all the air out. Okay, I will do that. I'll keep pushing it around. And next you put the top half on, really squeeze it in there, making sure those little dimples line up so it can only go on one way. So push it really in there and work it around. Okay, I'll wait until that fully goes off and then pop it out. So you don't want to get any finger marks on it when it's still a bit soft. So it is best to wait until it fully goes off hard, maybe the next morning. So while we're waiting for this to go off, just to remind you, so the Blue Stuff or Instamold or whatever you're using, it's all pretty much the same product, and it will become pliable inside hot water. But it's got to be 80 degrees plus. But obviously don't put this itself in the microwave because it will probably mess it up. So make sure you're using hot water and leave it in there 3 minutes and it becomes nice and pliable. And you can remove all of the fingerprints, so it's nice and squishy. Great stuff about this is the green stuff will just fall out of it. You don't need any lubricant whatsoever, and obviously it is reusable. Okay, so it's the next morning, so hopefully with a bit of luck this has gone off and I'm not pressing my luck already. It's released there. So obviously it's squidged a little bit around the sides of the shield, which isn't a problem. I can just trim that off with a knife, but you can see the definition there on the two handles. You can even see the little rivets either side there. So if I'm careful, I can just prise this out. So yeah, that's not bad. That really isn't bad. Like I said, you've got a few of the details, like on the top of the skull there. You've got some damage, like you have on the, well, the main piece is supposed to be damaged like that anyway. So you can see it has a bit of damage on, and that's how it's supposed to be. So yeah, reasonably happy with that. The skull was intact. Obviously I do need to trim the edges of the shield a little bit. But that's basically how it's done. So I've pushed it in, I've left it overnight. I probably should have left it a little bit longer, possibly. And then I can trim around the edges. Obviously, if you want to do mass production with this stuff, it's probably best to have several shields on the go in one piece, rather than doing one piece at a time and waiting like 12 hours or something like that for it to go off. But yeah, it's ideal for obviously our hobby. It's good for like gem making and crafting, for necklaces and beads and whatnot like that. And remember, obviously, the less detail it has, the better it's probably going to be. So that skull obviously has a lot of detail. Obviously, it's got to sink into the nose, into the eye sockets, and it came out okay. But I'm sure I can improve on that. But no, this is fantastic stuff. It's instant mold, and it normally comes in blocks. Well, as you can see, that makes a about this amount, which is definitely enough for your average infantryman. Like a Space Marine or something, you could make a corpse or something for a base, because it doesn't have to be massively detailed. But anything that has like fur on a cloak and things like that, you'd be lucky if it picks up all the detail. But most basic infantrymen, I'm using it obviously for Warhammer 40k. Space Marines would be ideal, things like that. But it's not made for mass production, it's made for if you are missing a piece, or a piece is broken. It's pretty close. It's pretty close. So just take your time, really work that green stuff in, make sure it's nice and soft, and hopefully you'll come out with a decent product at the other end. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching this very short video on Instant Mold. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done already. Safe hobbying guys.